Sermon 222 of Nahjul Balaghah seems like it quotes from the Quran, but there's not a listing for this affirmation of God being the all-powerful. Let us ask to be safe from having to beg from others. Other creations have to beg from God. So let us turn to God directly. Let us praise God directly. And let us not act wrongfully against those who merely don't supply what we want or even need. Kambar was reminded by Ali that if you're going to give in charity, don't make the mention that you don't need something. What is required as charity in Islam is from what you don't need. But you shouldn't make it seem like it's what you're not going to use or wouldn't use. The Muslim people are representatives of their leaders. They need to be good to the non-Muslim subjects, whether they're permitted people or whether they're protected people, as the saying goes. Ali told the people under his command that if they accepted gifts from the people because of their position of leadership, that it was wrong whether they were hosting gatherings or distributing them amongst the people with them or not. Because, just because it's not called a bribe doesn't mean it isn't a bribe. Like all this, lobbying and campaign funding and stuff like this that goes on nowadays. In 1905, a handwritten command of Ali was found in Russia, and it was in the Kufi script. There's a monastery from an earlier period that had a manuscript dated of a treaty that they had with Muhammad, and evidence of this treaty was shown through the generations. They would show the Muslim rulers and stuff this manuscript that they had. It is not for a ruler to do as, like in America, some judges, your typical judge and stuff like this wants people to get down and all that, get down and get up, because of their presence in the room. In Islam, we don't want this upon people. Even in modern Europe, we find mention of some of what is in Nahjul Balaghah as being from it, being mentioned and recognized as provoking towards good organization and just rule by government. The old and disabled were particularly ones that Ali was listening and sympathetic towards. And Ali didn't try to eat or drink beyond fulfilling his needs. And even of the poor, there were people who lived better in that respect. And just like Prophet Muhammad, he ate, whole grain bread, to eat the soft stuff, which is actually healthier. And water was fine as a drink. Modesty and cleanliness was the importance. And Ali was the first follower of Muhammad to go preach publicly. And the Sunni tradition lays forth the idea that Ali was by far appointed to the most roles of importance. And I don't mean, go fetch this food or go fetch a pail of water or that sort of thing. I mean, learn these verses and go teach Surah 9. Because part of Surah 9 was learned, and then the rest of it was learned, and Ali was to rush ahead with that. And there are so many instances of that. Of course, Ali was the one that, when Muhammad finally made the migration, that Ali stayed in his bed as a distraction. They didn't kill Ali because they figured out it was him before they, stuck the swords in. Most marauding bands that had gathered together to do such and such, they would have themselves, they would have struck before identifying the person. And that's one of the things we found in America with the vigilante killings, is that there were some cases where they got the wrong person because they couldn't see, and they just killed the person in the night or under their blanket or whatever. Of course, in Islam, we know that the judicial process is important and that should be done. The narrations about the Battle of Uhud indicate that Ali was definitely old enough to fight in that battle. And same thing with the Battle of Badr, is that he was of the 313, according to the Shia tradition. And the Sunni tradition, I think isn't the number 319? Ali killed 18 known fighters. People outside those ranks, they knew of these fighters, in the Battle of Uhud. And the Battle of Khandaq, I talk about the Battle of Khandaq and Khaybar in particular because it has lessons for nowadays, because they went after the financiers, the directors of the oppression, the war, not just the individuals there. They went over and dealt with some other people It wasn't because of their ethnicity or their supposed religion. That was not, at all what was going on. I mean, people are going to pretend. People are going to pretend. And let us also know that the arrogant are going to be dealt with. And the humble believers are going to be raised up.